So first, let's just make a short introduction. Okay, I'm Anja Žibert. I'm an HR disruptor, and I'm connecting companies and people, like candidates, based on vibrational frequency. And Shehnaz, my friend, are you gonna introduce yourself, or just say rocket scientist from NASA who is also quantum coach, or is there anything to add?
I know. I wear many hats, right? Because it's fun to wear all those hats, and I want people to know that we can all wear many hats. But like right now in this physical world, yeah, I do work for NASA as a rocket scientist. I am working on having us live on a dark side of the moon, even though in India they just landed on dark side of the moon. So there is that competition going on. And along with that, I have been working on my expanding my consciousness, which is why I have been to so many mystery schools and just the school of life, right? And because of that, I wrote this book, The Quantum Being, which connected me and Anya together and kind of opened the door for this gathering for all of us to meet here and just exchange. And I'm just excited that we can stir up the pot a little bit, because I feel like I'm a pattern buster. I have always been a pattern buster, even with my work, even everywhere I go. So this particular place where all of us, you guys are showing up, is really ready to change your trajectory for life.
Awesome. I mean, everything like what we are talking about is like energy and vibrational frequencies. Like from your point of view, from scientific point of view, for people who are like, what the hell is that? What are you talking about? Can you please just explain a little bit? Like how would you explain to somebody what is energy? What is vibrational frequency that we are all like talking about?
So one of the things that I always tell people is that you have to kind of feel everything that you do, right? So if you really think about it, that people who are blind, for example, right, they are not blinded by the perception, because when you are focusing, wherever you focus, right, that's where you pick up the energy, right? So if you close your eyes and you just feel your breath, right? I mean, everybody can do that right now. You just close your eyes and you feel your breath. As soon as you feel your breath, you feel yourself. You feel all your emotions. You feel what you're thinking. You feel whatever you don't like. I mean, you feel everything, right? But the point is that we decide to put our attention to whatever we want to. So we can put our attention to being here. We can put our attention to listening to this conversation. We can put our attention to, like, my God, my throat hurts, right? So you get to decide all of that. And every single channel you're dialing in is where you are going to vibrate according to that, you see? So we get to decide how we show up for ourselves and for others every nanosecond. And when you want to get into the science, then, and I explain that in my, further chapters in the book, because I kind of build it incrementally. But the bottom line is that they have already proved it, that the way the quantum collapse occurs, it's every, it's a nanosecond. So the thing is that if you want to translate into a layman term, the point is you have option to change your experience every nanosecond if you can process the information that fast, you see?
Okay, cool. So like, would you say that vibrational frequency is like based on our emotions?
It's based on wherever you're putting your attention to. Mm-hmm. But emotion is one of the good places to go, because that's where we truly get into our feelings. Because our feeling is the one thing that we have to own it, right? Because it doesn't matter whether we're living in a simulation reality or whatever we're living, it doesn't really matter. But what you really feel is really, that is your truth. So that is the one way you can truly anchor the energy and understand yourself, right? So yeah, feeling would be a great place to start.
Okay, cool. Anyone has any questions maybe regarding this? So yeah, I wrote down a few guidelines. Like we also thought, I mean, we are also, talking about that we can create our realities with our thoughts. And I read a lot about that. I listened to a lot of podcasts about it. I'm also explaining to people, how it goes, like all this, nerves, like neuron networks in our brain, how they are acting and what is happening. yeah, how would you explain, like, what did you write in quantum being, and also like from scientific point of view, how would you explain how is that even possible? Because for somebody, you know, it's like science fiction, but we know that it's not like that.
Right, right. So if you think about it, right, like, so overall, we are like, if you really use your analogy, because when I say human craft, right, because I work on a spacecraft, I use the word human craft because I actually say that we are a very magnificent machine, right? Because we are actually more intricate than any rocket I have worked on, which is really true. So every single thing in the way we process information is very, very complex. It's also very layered. Okay, so we are layered human being, partly because we don't just exist in a physical dimension, right? We also exist in an emotional dimension. If you think about it, that dimension only you know, right? Because your feelings. Like if you're feeling hurt right now, anybody, whatever you're feeling, you can easily hide it if you don't want to show it to the world, right? So that is your emotional dimension that you are living in, and you can hide it if you like. It's completely up to you. Similarly, you also live in a mental dimension, which is where your thought comes into play the role, right? And that's where you're thinking. So you can be sitting here in front of the camera and you can be thinking that, oh, I need to make sure I do my laundry, right? So, but you are the only one who's aware of that thought. And that is part of what you're tapping into. And then spiritual dimension, which is where rubber meets the road, right? That's where it becomes a forest versus tree. That's where you get to experience yourself in a way that you look at it from a bigger perspective, right? And that's where your consciousness kind of can see all of your layers, right? You know, all these 4 layers that I mentioned. So coming back to the thought, so at the end of the day, the reason your thought affects on what you're going to experience is because it directs you. It's that inner voice that directs you to do certain things. The reason thought becomes a reality, or thought becomes your next experience, is because all the people who were wanting to listen to me and Anja today, and the Facebook Live did not work, and we used another avenue for you to join us, and the fact that you carried out that instruction from your own self, right? Because you had to really seek to want to do this to even show up here. And because you showed up here, you are having this experience where you are seeing me, you're seeing all these other people, you're listening to what I'm saying. So that is a classic example of how your own instruction affected your reality, right? And we are saying it that when you keep on doing it on an incremental level, it becomes a cascade. It's like a ladder, right? You climb one step, another step, and then you reach somewhere. You reach a level. And that's how you keep on doing that. And that's how we all live our lives. Like we are continuously leveling up to whatever we want to create with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our perception, the way we receive and the way we sell, and the way we avail all of our faculties.
Okay, cool. And what about, for example, law of attraction? That we are probably, like most of us, you know, it's familiar with it. What are your thoughts on it? Like, how would you explain to somebody who never heard about it? Okay, and they would be like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Right. So I'll actually say law of attraction is equal to the quantum being. And I'll explain all of that in one sentence, because, you know, we use so many different words, but the law of attraction is always at play. If you want to really look at the words that they're saying, it's because law of attraction pretty much means law of exchange, law of conservation of energy, a law of physics, including classical physics and quantum physics, right? So to me, every single thing is interacting with each other at all times, okay? Whether we can see it or not, that's where the comprehension comes into play the role. And the fact that our school system does not highlight the fact that we are interacting with the field, the quantum field, we're interacting with the place, space, time, matter, we're interacting with all there is at all times. So when I use the word quantum being is equal to law of attraction, it's because quantum actually means a small incremental amount of anything. It's a Latin word just for amount. And it could mean energy, it could mean anything, but it means that the small amount can affect a large amount, right? So if you change one thing, you can change everything. So if there's nothing else you're going to get from this conversation today between me and Anja, I would really like you to write down this one sentence that if you change one thing, you change everything. And that is the law by itself. And law of attraction, a lot of people use it, is like, you attract what you are, which truly is kind of true in a way, because you attract what you're vibrating moment to moment, right? So if you're feeling happy, then that's what you're vibrating, and that's what you're broadcasting, and that's what you're going to receive. If you're feeling unhappy, then that's what you're broadcasting, and that's what you're going to receive. So it's kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And have you noticed that when you're not having a good day, then every single thing falls apart? And it's partly because of that, right? So it's kind of like when you understand that how you are continuously messing up your life or making it better on your own to some extent, but also by choosing what people and place and everything you surround yourself with, then you can at least take part of ownership of your own self, which is the reason I wrote the book Quantum Being, because I wanted people to understand that they always have a choice.
Okay, and if we go back to that quantum being, like, how did you decide, like a rocket scientist, from NASA, how did you decide to write a book about quantum being, like spiritual, like completely spiritual book, like concept that everything is based on spirituality?
Yeah, so the thing is that I've always been very, very inquisitive about the consciousness, about why am I encased in this body. I've always been inquisitive when I was like 6 years old, and I wasn't even encouraged to go to school, right? So I have been in that quest, and that quest brought me to this life where I ended up following the breadcrumbs one by one, step by step. Like I said, that one thought after another thought, and I made it all the way to USA, United States, and to being a NASA rocket scientist. But my quest in parallel, I've always lived in this physical dimension and done what is quote unquote considered successful, because I wanted to show up for myself. But in parallel, I was going to schools. Like I went to 3 mystery schools. I have taught Kabbalah myself, because Kabbalah is equal to quantum physics, by the way. It's just a different perspective. So when I did all of that, I already had this vast amount of understanding and comprehension. And I wanted to share that to the world. And I was hoping to create a course material or school or do something. And then I said, let me write it down. So basically the quantum being became my way of channeling that information, at least in a 2-dimensional writing method, right? For now, until I can figure out other methods to broadcast the information.
Okay, if I ask you, like, are there many people in NASA that are like spiritual, that have like this awareness on high level and thinking about this, or?
No, majority of the people I work with, and they're cream of the crops, they all have many PhDs and all of that. And they all find me very amusing because I always bring them to this perspective. For the most part, I've noticed, and majority of the people I work with, they're all men, and there's nothing against that. But for whatever reason, I've noticed that they like to keep things simple. And because of that, they only want to dial a channel that is very discreet. Like I always say, because I'm a software engineer also, so I always say that the man is like a DOS prompt and woman is like a Unix, which means we kind of more tap into a multidimensional existence, which is why to men, sometimes we look like chaotic, or we are chaotic, but it's partly because we dial many channels. And that's just the way we are wired.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So, like from a soul perspective, yeah, we are here to expand, to grow, to gain experiences. So why do you think people really live like on average, and they are so, I don't know, afraid, to reach for more? What is your perspective on that?
You know what the interesting thing is, that fear is exactly where the next step of evolution is. So if you're ever wondering what you want to do, the best way to mess up your life is truly figure out all your fears and take care of it one by one, because that's where your evolution resides. Because it's almost like, it's like you get a gift. Like, I mean, if anybody plays a video game, right? Like I have played some video games because all my boys are extremely good in playing video games. And it's actually a very good skill to have, because the whole idea is that whenever you overcome a fear, you get some reward, you get rewards in many ways. So to me, I think that people truly put themselves in a cage partly because they're not recognizing how incredibly powerful they are. So that is the reason. That's another reason I wrote my book, because I wanted people to really get it, that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to recognize that you are the most amazing human craft. Every single one of us is. And we all have the potential to have everything in life. But we have to first give ourselves a permission first, right? And then we have to start taking the step in the right direction.
Yeah, and also, yeah, that's really powerful, because, each and every one of us, I really believe that we all have the message, that we can share with the world. We all have our stories. We all have these abilities, and of course, purpose, why we are here. And we are all on the same level, like there are no labels, like there's no, even like the millionaire, and someone like a homeless person, maybe a homeless person is so much more wise, like he carries or she carries so much more wisdom than somebody, with $1 million on his bank account or something. So it's like, yeah, when we tap into this inner power, I think, wow, everything can change. And of course, like building this support system around you, because when you are vibing on a certain vibration, I really believe that you are attracting, people who are aligned with who you are. Yeah. And
Exactly.
then you can really shine, you can really radiate this energy, and you can attract opportunities and people that are showing you path to this, I'd say, like heart desire, and who you really are.
Right. And, we have phrases like man is recognized by its company, right? And that is truly the pure definition of law of attraction, if you really think about it, right? So you just have to really look around, like, where do you live? Whom do you talk to? Where do you go for your grocery? All the things that you do in your daily life is truly a gauge for you to see that that's what you've attracted, right? Based on your frequency and vibration, that's where you've parked yourself. And then if you like something, then you say, wow, I'm so grateful that I've come this far, right? But if you don't like something, then you can say, you know what? I don't like this part of my existence. Then you work on changing it. But when you start taking that ownership, then that's when the magic unfolds, right? That's when all of that, and that's how every single thing you create, like, so your thought does become your reality, because you have to acknowledge the goodness and you have to acknowledge what you want to change.
And yeah, and also, like, what would you say, or anyone, like who's listening this now, what would be like the main advice or something for somebody who is stuck, who doesn't see, this reality on the other side of the fear, or like, they don't believe that, how powerful are they? Because when I'm talking to people, there are podcasts, there are books, everybody knows everything in theory. Everybody knows everything in theory. Like they have so much knowledge, but they don't know how to integrate that in their life, or like, to just put it in practice. What would you say? Would that be a recommendation?
I actually always ask everybody that, like, there are so many ways like I do this, but one of the way I say is that, like, if you have only one day to live, for example, right? If you have a one day to live, like, you can go either one day, you can go to 7 days, you can go 1 month, it's completely up to you. But it changes your perspective. Like, what is the most important thing, right? Or who are the most important people in your life? Or what is the most important thing you want to do? Like, so you can feel like, okay, you know what, if I die, like, because, I come from Islamic teaching, right? According to that teaching, when you go to sleep, you're done. You're basically half dead, right? And then you wake up the next day and you're supposed to say, thank you that I still am on this planet Earth, because you can die in your sleep is the way we have been taught. But the whole point of the story is that, we need to really value our limited time in this confined body. And I mean, it is confined, and I'm very aware of that, but we still have to value it, because there's a reason we are here. So while we are here, we might as well make the most of it. So to me, the question you want to ask yourself is, what is the one thing you would do if today's your last day? And it could be anything. You don't have to judge yourself. You just do whatever the hell that is. But that's how you honor yourself. And that's how you prove it to yourself that you can rely on yourself.
Okay. And what would you say to somebody who is like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? I don't know what is my purpose. And they're like stressing out about the purpose. And I try to tell them purpose, it's not always connected to career and to job, you know. Purpose is really like really, really wide concept. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Which is very true, because, you know, the thing is that there are many ways to go to the mountain. So I always say that we all have a perception of what success looks like, or what can you do so you can feel like you're more important, whatever all of that is. At the end of the day, I mean, you know, if you really think about it, it's your thought, it's your feeling, it's your perception that you see the world in a certain way, and you are deciding whom to value and whom not to value. So if you really think about it, this hunger game we create for ourselves, and we put certain people on a pedestal, we bring some people down, we decide that this is what it needs to be, and then we put ourselves as like a role playing, like, okay, I want myself to be here. And that usually, when you're doing it through a dangling carrot strategy, then it just doesn't take you where you need to go. So the best way to go is that you need to figure out that what makes you feel excited about life, right? And then how can you share that with others? So if you take it in a simpler way, that would be the question I would ask, rather than asking the purpose and the goal and all that, because it has all of these carries a lot of energy, right? So you say, what excites me and how can I share with others? And how can I show up in a way so I can feel good about how I'm exchanging that love, right, with others? And it can be exchanged in so many ways, right? You can be a, you know, I mean, you can be a caregiver, or you can, but to me, everything has a boundary, right? Because when you do something on a regular basis, it becomes a habit, it becomes a part of your reality. And a lot of time you create that cage for yourself, and then you say, oh man, I have no choice. Oh, I'm stuck because, you know, I have to take care of this. So you just have to notice that you are the one who's saying that to yourself and to others.
That's really hard, you know, to cope with, like when you say that to yourself, or maybe if somebody else is telling you that, but it's real. Yeah, definitely. So you already mentioned some boundaries, because we are also talking about personal boundaries. Yeah. And from energetic point of view, what would you say, like, what is happening when somebody doesn't really set their personal boundaries?
Well, because that's the thing, when we don't set up a personal boundary, we get frustrated. We feel negative emotions, right? We start feeling that we are being violated, right? All of that can turn into a pretty negative experience for us, and even for other people who are around us, or whomever we can lash out. Because, you know, as a human being, at the end of the day, it's going to seep, it's going to leak from one avenue to other, right? And that's what I always say, that you can't shove anything under the closet and think that nobody can see it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, every single thing is showing up for you in one way or the other. So if you start recognizing that there is nothing you can truly hide, you can think that you're hiding, but you truly are not, because you're the one who has to live every single day in your body, having to feel what you're feeling, right? Or having to think what you're thinking. And all of that is something you have to own up to it, because it's your journey. And that's why the universe is within you, because every single thing that you feel, it ends up reflecting back to you in the form of people, places, experiences, and emotions.
Cool. Okay, so what would you say, like, how can we expand our soul? What are ways that we can, you know, that we can reach the goal while we are here, because we are here for expansion? And how can we do that?
So I think that we need to give ourselves that range of emotions, right, that we are here to experience, because I look at emotion as energy in motion. That's where kind of rubber meets the road. So, like, as I said, that if you start with something like love, right, you want to experience love, you want to share love, you want to receive love, that is always a good place to start. But you can also start with experiencing why you're fearful about something, because that's kind of like, these are all the emotions that gives you your own boundary that you've created for yourself. And there's a reason for you to create that. But when you start unpacking it one after another, then you start revealing yourself, like peeling the onion, right? And you get to know yourself, and you say, oh my God, I didn't know that I actually, you know, I thought that this is going to be very hard, but it's really not that hard. Or I thought that this is going to be so much challenging, but it's actually fun, right? So you get to basically, so I feel like we are here to understand ourselves through reflection, right? And the reflection can be a people and a place and an experience. And it can be anything you want it to be at that particular moment. So to me, we are in a playground. And there are times, like, I have to admit that there are times even I feel like it would be nice if you can just come and go as you please in this body. But that's not the way it is, right? Once you're here, it's like you are here and you have to make the most of it. And that kind of is the journey we all are in. So the good thing is we all have the same challenge. So why not work together and help each other in a way so we can have fun while we are here?
Yeah, that's my slogan. Just have fun. Exactly. Despite everything what's going on, chaos around it. But yeah, we always have a choice how we can react. Like we cannot really influence like what is going on around us, but we definitely, have ability to influence how we react to something. And there's going to always be negative emotions. I think like this self-regulation and, like seeing things from higher perspective, I would say, it can really help you. So
and
what
I
I would, yeah,
I like to thank the 11 people who are here, by the way. So I see 13 participants, right, Anja? And I really want to open up the very fact that the Facebook Live did not work, the very fact that we ended up doing Zoom, the very fact that you all are here actually, and you don't have to necessarily show your face if you don't want to, but truly, if you want to ask any question, then just unmute your mic and just
just write in a chat. It's like we are here definitely.
Yeah.
When did you have last time when you had the opportunity to speak to NASA scientists? So just use this.
So if you do such, then you better come up with a very good question, I guess. My question to you guys both actually is, a lot of people nowadays started, developing themselves, searching for whatever personal development things you can encounter nowadays, and it's starting to become, I say, a hype. I mean, it's not a good word, but in my opinion, there's a wave going now from people who are all searching. Is it that we infect each other with the idea to, I don't know, to develop yourself or to go deeper? Or is it the time is right and now we are all doing it? Or, what is your opinion on that idea? Why is everyone running for personal development nowadays?
Okay, so Anja, do you want to go first?
Yeah, you can go first, and then I can. Then I can also add something if I will.
Yeah, I'm not so interested in Anja.
I'm not that important. Like I'm just gonna hide.
So just think of convergence as a word, right? So every single thing that we do, we are meeting ourselves through experience. If you can just stay with me on that concept. So the thing is, like 100 monkey effect, ripple effect, right? All of those truly scientifically proven, right? Because partly, like you have heard of the fact that when Tesla was inventing the wireless, at the same time another scientist somewhere else was thinking the same idea. He may not have become famous like Tesla did, or vice versa, right? But at the end of the day, the information is in the field, it's in the quantum field, right? So, and then it becomes kind of one of those things where all the people who tap into it, then they start affecting each other, because we are connected. We're all interconnected with each other. So of course we're going to affect each other. Also, if you really look at things, the information now, right? It's spreading so fast because of all the technology. So what happens now is that it's almost like if you watch a show, and before you could be entertained by a show, now you can look at the show and you say, it's just too boring. I want something more stimulating, right? So that's what's going on with the humanity and the consciousness, because everybody is like, okay, yeah, I can have this, but that doesn't excite me. I want more. So in that quest of understanding ourselves, everybody's asking the question that what it is. I mean, the whole COVID thing happened and it completely made most of us homebound. And I was still working for NASA and I was delivering major products to SpaceX and Blue Origin for us to make a human landing system that would take the astronauts to the moon. And I was doing it really efficiently. And in parallel, I was able to write this book, for example, last year, right? Because I actually was able to not spend my time getting ready and going to work and talking to a whole bunch of people before I get my real work done. I was able to do whatever I wanted. And that opened my multidimensional self to realize that how incredible it is to actually have more autonomy on your time, right? So what I'm saying is that awareness has changed my perspective. I don't want to work in the office anymore. You see? So that is how it is. We're all affecting each other because we're all asking the question that how can I show up so that I can have more fun, I can learn more, I can do better. And, that's where we are.
Yeah, I can add something if you allow me, Ron, okay?
Bring it on, Anja.
Okay. So, yeah, how I see it as well is like this personal growth journey or like spiritual growth journey. People like now, because, it's like a hype or a trend or whatever, I see it like really, really different trend as well, that people are comparing to each other. And they think that personal growth and spiritual growth can be planned. Like if I'm going to do this, my seventh chakra will open and I'm going to do this, it doesn't work like that. It seriously doesn't work like that, because we are all, like we are part of this evolution, and every single soul is on certain level. And the experiences, and everything like that he or she is experiencing, it's based on that level, and we cannot force anything. We cannot really compare, each other as like, oh yeah, you see things and, I don't see anything, or like, oh, you have these feelings and I didn't feel anything when I was meditating, it's like, then they are putting pressure on them, and it's like, we are back to, I'm not good enough. Yeah. So it's like, I think they really lack basis, like the foundation. And I think, with Shehnaz and everything that also we are talking about, it's pretty cool to give everybody foundation, So, okay, we have a question.
Can I just, I haven't got a question. I just wanted to expand a little bit in response to Ron, because I think it's absolutely to do with the internet and social media. So, for example, me, Ron and Simone are in a group, a very, very large group of well over 1,000 people. We've never really had much reason to interact with each other, have we? Until quite recently. But in the space of maybe a couple of weeks, you've led me a ripple effect to actually be here on this call. I'm going to be buying Shehnaz's book. You said some things about Shehnaz on a Facebook post that has led me here, because I'm going through what we call in our community a rumble strip, but there's a bit of disturbance going on and I need to go in a new direction. And I know that the universe or the field is going to give me signs, and you're my sign, Ron. I'm here because of you. So, and it came right at the right time for me to be now coming in at this direction in where I'm going in my journey. So, and again, if it wasn't for, it really pains me to praise Facebook, but hey, here we are because of Facebook and a post that you made, and the fact that circumstances happened that had us three emailing each other recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think it's very much social media, and COVID probably made people embrace social media even more than they were already.
Right.
Well, sorry, I think so too. I mean, I was just looking at what is your vision, Shehnaz, and on my question, and furthermore, I'm quite aware about how these waves are going to work in the end. I mean, it is set in motion, and seeing through the effects of what a quantum field is and how energy spreads and that sort of stuff, it's unstoppable. I'm sure of that. Another fun story is that I believe it was a week ago, I had a question in the Facebook group where we are members, about one of the students. He wanted to have a more technical explanation behind energy work. And I reacted on that as well with the book, which I didn't read, by the way, because I was bouncing in it, and then Simone stole it and took it to Cyprus for a whole week. And then I was, like, okay, nowadays we own it, so no problem there, and we can spread the story as well. And I love to be part of this whole thing. It's way bigger than we can even think and imagine. Just stay on board. That's the only thing that we should do, and deepen yourself and see what is happening if you do. And it starts with the very small things, like manifesting a parking spot in front of that superstore, or well, you name it, and if that happens, then you are playing with it. You become aware of things. I mean, if we step out the car into a shopping mall, we aim our energy high, and what happens is that people who come across us, they all look at us, and they smile back, and you feel like the energy is changing where you're going. So this is how we spread this idea. The thing is that I think that way more people should be aware of how this works, so that will end up in a way better world. At least this is what I'm thinking about it. So Shehnaz, I'm very happy with your book and your technical information about how this all works. I didn't know that. I mean, I'm pretty technical, but I don't build rockets. But still, I'm doing it. And you gave it words, and you gave it the maths behind it, and so on and so on. So yeah, I'm very proud.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate Anja, because most of the people who are here on this call, I know that it's because of Anja's connection. And that is why I'm saying that we all have to help each other, right? But one thing I wanted to share with you, because Anja asked a lot of amazing questions. And thank you, Anne, for sharing your thought process, because I'm going to give you a little story that will give you a little idea of how we exit our ongoing life pattern, and how I did it, for example, in January 2010. So January 2010, the scenario is this, that I have 3 boys. I'm married to my second husband. We are having some challenges, and I am wondering that how am I going to raise the 3 boys by myself, because I'm pontificating divorce. And while I'm in that mindset, I go to the grocery store and I pick up a magazine called Natural Awakening magazine. I open the magazine and it has this class offered which says Metaphysics 101. So of course, as an engineer, I have taught physics myself. That was the first time in my life I basically came across the word metaphysics, right? So of course, right away, I went on a Google and I searched and I understood it. And I said, oh, that means beyond physics. So of course, that was like something I was very interested in. Now, here's the challenge. So every time when you want to do something new, you're always going to be tested with your fear. So my fear is that we were living in a town where the light goes out after a certain time and it gets very dark at night to drive. The training was at night. So I would have to drive at night in the dark. So that was out of my comfort zone. Plus, I would have to ask my husband, whom I'm thinking of divorcing, to watch the 3 boys so I can take the class. So there were all these problems. But then I said, okay, I need to figure out if this class is worth for me, because I have all these obstacles, right? And see, we create all that for ourselves so we can overcome it. So what I did was I said, let me check out if this is even a place I want to go. So I go during the daytime, right? So I'm trying to avoid variables. So I'm going during the daytime. They had some book club going on just to see the energy of the place, the people. And I have to tell you that when I enter, it's a house that's 100+ years old. And it has that vibe, like the ghost lives in that house. Like that's what I felt when I was entering it. And then as soon as I enter, all the people, so I'm the only brown skinned person, everybody's white, everybody's extremely old. So you can just imagine I have so many reasons not to go to this place, because I am coming up with lots of excuses here. I still go sit down there and I say, let me just listen to the conversation, right? Because I'm already saying no, 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 no. I sit down and then one of the women starts talking about telepathic conversation. She starts saying all these things that I have always believed in, but I never have had people talking about it like in a casual conversation. And I say to myself that if I disregard all the constraints, right? The nighttime driving, or the house is too old, or the people are too old. If I let go of all of these things, I see myself home. And I had to do that. And that's when I decided that I'm going to come and take the training. And I took every single training they could offer. And then I became a teacher in that school. But that is the thing, that if I wouldn't have opened the door, if I would have just, because I had many reasons to bail out of it, but I didn't. And that's what I'm saying, that when you are going to open a new, level for yourself, you're going to have your own inhibitions that's going to show up in the form of obstacles. And you can easily say that these are good enough reason I shouldn't do it. But that's when you are being tested, and you need to make sure you overcome that, and you will come out like a lotus flower.
We had a few of these tests already.
Shehnaz, there's a question. Sorry, Ron, would you like
Sure.
to?
No. I just said we had a few of these tests already. The moment we
We all
graduated,
had,
one or 2 weeks after that, you get the graduation events. And the thing that you become aware is, wow, a couple of months ago, I would have reacted like so-and-so. And now I'm like relaxed, and taking it as it is, and et cetera, et cetera. So, no, it's a wonderful world. Thank you for knowing us. And thank you for answering out my questions. There's a new question. So
Shehnaz, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
So about repeating numbers. So 333, 555, 777. Mostly on license plates. Yeah, I always see that.
Yeah.
And Mitka is wondering if there's quantum explanation to it. Like, how would you see that?
Yeah, so whenever you see the number, you should always go straight to what were you thinking? Like, where were you? Because, it's kind of like the universe is kind of responding to you in many ways, right? So, and the more you become aware of the number and what it means to you, the more the number becomes your avenue for you to get a confirmation to go forward or not. So for example, numbers speaks for me, right? That's why Anja connected with you, because that number, your phone number was like right away, okay, you're someone I'm going to have to connect. So for me, I use number, and I use pretty much any message, because, letters, numbers, they're all just different way of expressing itself. Okay. So whatever works for you, you can actually start using all of it. I'll tell you, one time, right when they were initiating the whole COVID lockdown in America, I was about to go to Brazil to become a life activation practitioner. And I'm about to take a flight, and every single person that knew me was calling me to not go, because they thought that if I go, I may not be able to come back. And it was March 12, 2020, right? When things were happening. And I actually was very confused about whether I should go or not. But I wanted to go to the bank and get some money in case I'm going, because I had a flight to catch. When I was on my way home, I see this big giant truck right in front of me saying, ready to serve. And I was going to Brazil purely to become a life activation practitioner so I can heal people etheric energy. So you see, the message was very loud and clear that, are you ready to serve? And if you are, then don't be scared of all these people who are saying don't go. I went there, I stayed there for 10 days. I was able to come back. And when I came back, a day after, they closed the border down, both in Brazil and both in America. But I became a life activation practitioner. So to me, that's how we sometimes have to just navigate life. It's like almost like Mission Impossible,
Yeah, I think that signs are everywhere, like everywhere. Okay, it's not like if you carry a mug and a mug falls out, like, oh, what the universe is trying to tell me, I lost, and then you just go Google it, and what does it mean if a mug, falls down? It's not always like that. You shouldn't stress out about that kind of stuff, but feelings, mostly feelings, and thought, just random thoughts. Or like animals, for example, butterflies, or whenever for example, Ron, you have really, really interesting story about butterfly. You can share that. But it's like there's signs everywhere. We just have to trust. Is that the right word?
Yeah, trust the process and trust what is being shown to you, because it's you are communicating to yourself through all these different avenues.
Yeah, because everything is you. We are all connected. So whatever we are meeting, whatever is, we are encountering, that's us. Yeah. Like if we see a tree, we are the tree.
That is very true.
It's the same consciousness. So yeah, what about when we are talking about, we still have maybe 5 minutes. I would just like to ask you about the mirror. Okay. It's the chapter, what is it? Six. Yeah. Oh, I see. I almost, I knew it because I was like learning from it. Like first time when I got your book, I was like, I have no idea what this is saying, because I've understood from a spiritual point of view, but scientific point of view, it was just too much, like formulas and all these expressions, like my mind, couldn't cope with it. But it's really, really interesting, like when we have this just random chats about it, So mirrors, yeah. And how are we mirroring each other?
So basically, like right now, for example, right? So Anja, you and I created this gathering. All the people who showed up, they're kind of showing us part of ourselves that we want to experience through them, right? So everybody is kind of doing that to each other. So the best place for you to really focus on all the mirror that you are creating for yourself is the people whom you are continuously in contact with, right? Like the people that you spend a lot of time with, people you live with, for sure. People you live with, people whom you are very much, like people whom you, like if you make a list of all the people you would call if you have a one day to live, that people is the one that I would say process those mirrors really wisely, because they are all coming, they're basically reflecting back to you the universe that you're not able to handle within you.
Okay, interesting. And what about people who are triggering you?
Yeah, that is actually one of a very strong mirror, because people who trigger you, if you can integrate them, then you really have mastered. Then the new level will open up for you, because the people who trigger you, you can easily not integrate them and just say, no, go away, I don't like you. But somebody else will come and trickle that down to you, because ultimately you are here to integrate all your aspects, good, bad, and ugly, because these are all you communicating to you. And that's why I'll tell you this one joke quickly, is that when I came to America, it really surprised me that majority of the people, they all love their animals, right? Dogs and cats and everything. But a lot of people would be like, I'm not talking to my mom. I'm not talking to my dad. I'm not talking to my brother. And it really bothered me because, I come from a culture where we really value relationship. And to me, it's good that you have a dog and cat and then you can exchange love. But don't take the shortcut, I think, because ultimately you have to integrate these important people in your life.
Yeah. For example, I'm having a lot of conversation, with people who wants to change their career and jobs. And most of them, they just want to run away from like a, bad boss or co-workers or whatever. What would you tell them? Like, I mean, I try to, explain to them that they just need to see it from higher perspective. And I try to joke around it, but it's like, because it's a part of them that they are facing. That's the fact. But how would you explain it? Like, because I'm seriously, whatever you will say, I'm gonna write it in the group and I'm gonna send it to all my clients, and because I really want that they get it. So
so you can say that wherever you go, there you are, right? So okay, so let's make sure we understand it with the boundary standpoint, right? On one hand, if you're in an abusive marriage, right, and you have to take your children and save yourself from whatever, then you have to get the respite and go away. You have to become a human again, so you can even come back together to handle something like that, right? So that is always there, right? So you have to make sure that you know your boundary, right? Because you know how much can you take and how much can you not take. But at the end of the day, when people are mistreating us, it's partly because we are allowing them to, right? So either we have to create a good boundary where we stand up for ourselves, and standing up truly means sometimes that we say, I cannot be treated like that. At the same token, it's kind of like, that's where it gets kind of one-on-one coaching, right? That's where people like that needs to go through a little bit of a processing, because there's a reason that's happening in their life. They have to go a little bit, do the root cause corrective action analysis type of work to ensure that they understand why they're attracting that, because it's our monster coming back in the form of what we don't like. And we need to be able to handle it. So you have to make sure you become strong enough in all your faculty so you can handle it, right? So you have to know how to do the dance. Like that is a dance that pretty much in every aspect of our life we have to do, which is why we have so many influencer and people talking about empowerment and health coach and life coach, and all of these people can help you ultimately, because a lot of things that we do to ourselves is embedded in our subconscious, which runs more than 90% of the show.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree everything. So Mitka before wrote that the test, challenge, and opportunity are all the same thing from a different perspective. That's a nice one, yeah? That's a nice one. Yeah, it's a deep one. So thank you, Mitka. So Ron, would you like to add anything? I know that you are, cannot wait.
No, I can wait, actually. I mean, I'm very good and very patient. I bring up short the thing that is really a hot item nowadays. It's about how to manifest your life. Recently, well, actually, more than a year ago, we sold a house in Holland because of circumstances. We couldn't bear it any longer financial-wise. We stopped our business, which had to do with renovation techniques and stuff, because of a bad back. So I needed something different. And Simone said, you know what? We take the caravan and we move to Slovenia because the nature there is fantastic, So
Wow.
we were
And
here a couple of
Anja is
times.
here.
Yeah, correct. Well, that comes. You come in a later stage, honey. But anyway, long story short, so we went here without a plan, and both knowing with our heart somewhere, the plan would come if we come here in Slovenia. From an earlier stage, like 7-8 years ago, we were somewhere here in Slovenia, and we said it would be great to own a property like this, so we can invite other people who need, coaching or a new direction in life, or who are stuck, or we should look for a place like that. And then the market went bananas about pricing and that sort of stuff. So it was no longer within our reach. Until this email out of nowhere received in my mailbox, which said, Ron, Simone, we know you. Would you come around to have an interview, because her husband died a year ago, and she couldn't keep up with the work here on the farm, and she wanted to bring in tourism, but it's way too much for a person on her own. And right now we exchanged the caravan, and we live in one of the apartments on the premises in the middle of the woods on the field, where we could invite people to have coaching or help in issues like where should I go from here, or my life is stuck, or whatever the case is. So this was our manifestation, like we need to have a place like this. And when we meditated, there was always this picture about the drive lane, which we planted certain orchids and other stuff. This is not the case. They're not there yet, but maybe we trade this field for another field in the near future, and who's quite near to here, and maybe that will be our new field where it all will happen. But for now, we can start here, and we're so happy that we kept the vision, because that made it happen. That this all just happened. And
right, and I completely agree with you. And even like right now, we all met here on this platform, right, through the bits and bytes, and we can take this gathering anywhere we want, right? We can take it to the farm that you want to create as a retreat place. And I also want to encourage you guys to check my website out, because I do like to teach certain things that you can just take it home with you. One of them is light body activation, and Anja is very familiar with my website, but I want to teach all of these things so we can all show up the best way ourselves, and then all the people we're going to be connected to, we're going to create the 100 monkey effect. So, and it can be fun, right? Because we all know that this is where we want to be. So why not we start creating gatherings? We can create gatherings in sacred places. We can go in places that's all nature, right? So Anja and I actually are very much into like using this as an avenue to start creating experiences that helps everybody grow. And that's how we make that's how we do our part. That's the purpose we are all here to actually exude.
Yeah. Just to make sure we are on board. I mean, we want to do this. So maybe this becomes like a group thing now. But anyway, yeah, we will check out your website, of course. And but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so happy that I'm, I have a visual contact with you right now and share some ideas with you. It gives me a new opportunity. So if you need a stage, then maybe we can create something.
That sounds great.
There we go.
I appreciate that so much. And I see Kiki has a hand up, so let's address that, Anja, and then we can wrap up. And please, because I'm very happy to meet all of you guys, and it is exactly what it needed to be, Anja, by the way.
I know everything happens for a reason, I don't know, like there were technical issues that I never faced before, like in my life.
One of the goals we all should have is that let's make ourselves more autonomous. Let's have less codependency on things that is controlled by people with different goals and motives, because that's what we are going to all have to do, so we can thrive without having to be dependent on anyone.
I think so
Exactly.
too, yeah.
And also what I would suggest, like when we start gathering, like if we are focusing on the same intention and we, energetically support like that one thing, it's gonna happen faster. It's gonna manifest faster because there will be so much more energy, so much more like, heart energy put into that. So like, let's do that. Let's exchange each other, like what do we want to create, and let's support each other with that. So that's how I see it. And then the collective consciousness will also rise. Yeah.
Yep. So wish everybody the best and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Anja. Thank you, everyone. And please, we are grateful that you did show up for yourself and for us to feel welcome in this community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing, despite all the challenges, but thank you everyone for being here, and we'll keep in touch. Yeah, Shehnaz, we're gonna have another one soon. Yeah.
Yep, that sounds great. We will definitely do it. Take care.
Okay.
Guys, have a good weekend. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.